Get ready, Staten Island. It's time to celebrate 5 years of Ferry Hawks baseball.
The Ferry Hawks are back at SIUH Community Park this week against the Hagerstown Flying Boxcars. A 5-game series starting Wednesday with first pitch at 6:30. Thursday at 4 p.m., it's Jewish Heritage Night. Friday at 7 p.m., it's Soccer Night and Kids Glow Around the Bases postgame. Saturday at 6:30, it's Broadway Night with postgame fireworks and Broadway Rave. Sunday at 1:30, it's Military Appreciation Day and the kids run around the bases.
Visit ferryhawks.com now to lock in your seats.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
The Rita Cosby Show. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I know your name is Rita, 'cause your perfume is smelling sweet. Since when I saw you down on the floor. Guitar floor.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, big primaries, of course, tomorrow night in South Carolina, Nevada, North Dakota, and then you've got Maine. And that, of course, is Graham Plattner. Meantime, one of the big issues, as we're waiting to see who wins in Game 3 of the NBA Finals, it's the Knicks and the Spurs. So far, the Knicks have been so-so, so we'll find out. Hopefully they can pull it out. It would be great to have them do a 3-game sweep so far. We'll find out if they can do that, but we'll keep you posted. Meantime, also, so many people talking about immigration issues and ICE. Over the weekend, there were these really out-of-control protests that took place at the Newark ICE facility in Newark, New Jersey. They were smashing the windows of ICE vehicles. These people are completely out of control. Who's paying for them? Who's funding them? We need to get to the bottom of it. When we were talking with Tom Holman last week, a lot of things he brought up are that they are looking into it. It sounds like maybe some big bust may be coming. Maybe they'll go after people like George Soros. What about Neville Roy Singham? Are they possibly connected? It's a question. How much could they be connected to some of these protests across the country? Some of these nonprofits that suddenly get the funds, and then suddenly you see these people with all these same similar signs shouting vile things, many of them pushing law enforcement. That indeed is illegal if that were to be the case. Meantime, you got Zoran Mondani, who on a day like this, there's so much going on in the world. What is he talking about? He's talking about, once again, abolishing ICE. Listen to this. This is the mayor of New York.
I want to be very clear about the fact that I believe that ICE raids are cruel. They are inhumane. They do nothing to serve in the interest of public safety. I've shared that directly with the president. I've shared that in public. It is a feeling that many New Yorkers share. And I also do believe that ICE as an entity is one that should be abolished and that we should return to an immigration system that has more humanity.
Immigration system that is more humanity. I guess he feels like come one, come all. I guess he feels like it's wrong to take people, especially those who have violent criminal histories, off the street. I mean, what is he talking about? What is he talking about? It's inhumane. They're, under Joe Biden, about 20 million came across the border. Many of them getting taxpayer-funded food, taxpayer-funded health care. But what, we're not humane? What a preposterous comment from a mayor who I've lost all respect, the fact that he would not march in the Israel Day parade. And he says, you know my beliefs. Unfortunately, we do. And then there is Senator Chuck Schumer. Listen to what he has to say. Here he is. He basically says the same thing. And Chuck Schumer, you know better, but you're on the political bandwagon now. The Democrats going to the bottom of the barrel, trashing federal law enforcement. Here's Senator Chuck Schumer.
America will see even more clearly tonight where the Republicans are, not on the side of lowering costs, but on the side of masked agents occupying our streets. Where the heck are you? America is crying out for relief from high costs, and you're here adding $140 billion to an agency that nobody, to two groups, Border Patrol and ICE, that nobody respects in this country.
How terrible is that? Nobody respects Border Patrol or ICE in this country. I beg to differ. There's some incredible men and women in Border Patrol and ICE. And Chuck Schumer is obviously clearly being led around by far left progressives in the Democratic Party and scared of his own shadow to stand up to them. So, oh yeah, they're the worst. Nobody's lower than ICE and Border Patrol. That's a terrible, horrible statement. And Chuck Schumer is totally selling out to the far left of his party, and he will obviously say anything, do anything at this time that seems to work for his political expediency. Because either you're with them or you're out. That seems to be the trend in the Democratic Party these days, because you've got some real extremists like Graham Plattner. You've got, of course, Mayor Mondani, who won his race. You've got, how about that woman in Seattle? And by the way, Zoran Mondani's also in attendance at Game 3. He's out there with his pals. He said he paid, I think, $1,000, he said, for 3 tickets. That's what he said he had to pay to get in, which is actually a pretty good deal. It sounds like a lot, but that's a very good deal compared to how much a lot of other people are paying. Again, President Trump was the guest of James Dolan, who, of course, owns the Knicks and MSG. Back to ICE. Here is Tom Homan, of course, border czar, who said, you know what? I know you want to kick out ICE out of New York. You can forget about it. We are going to step it up like never before, and it's coming soon. Listen to what Tom Homan said.
So New York is saying abolish ICE and zero cooperation. The governor and mayor teaming up to make sure that with the progress you were making with Eric Adams is going to just disappear. So what's going to be your approach to New York? You're going to stay away now?
No, I'm keeping my promise to Governor Hochul. I met with Governor Hochul a couple months ago. I explained to her how we dealt with Minnesota, right? If we can work with the sheriffs and arrest a bad guy in the safety and security of the jail, that means less teams into the neighborhoods, which causes a lot of panic, a lot of problems, right? I said, but if you sign the legislation that I think you're getting about ready to sign, that means I'm going to send more agents to New York, because now rather than one guy arresting one bad guy in the jail, now we got to send a whole team into the neighborhood to find this person that don't want to be found, because officer safety reasons, now we got to arrest this guy in his turf. He has access to no weapons. I told her it's safer for the community. It's safer for the officers. It's safer for the aliens to have these cooperations with the jails. She signed the legislation anyways. So I made her a promise. You're going to see more ICE agents you ever seen in New York City, and it's coming. I just reviewed an operational plan. I'm not going to tell you exactly when it's going to happen, but it's coming. I'm keeping my promise. We're going to send more ICE agents to New York because you took away the efficiencies of safe arrests in county jails.
So, Tom, it looks like Congress is going to finally pass that $70 billion immigrant.
Yeah, boy, oh boy, more are coming. You're not going to help us? Guess what's coming? 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Liz in Florida, line 1. Go ahead, Liz.
Hi, Rita. Hope you're doing wonderful.
I am. Now that I'm hearing from you, I definitely am.
Oh, you're so sweet. So 2 thoughts. One, it doesn't surprise me that the left does not care how obscene and out of control Graham Plattner is. Because if women can go crazy and fall in love with Luigi Mangione, what should we expect? That's the first thing.
By the way, Liz, I just read a story tonight that Luigi's sister works in a hospital. I don't know if I'd want that family anywhere near health care, but go ahead.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Right. I mean, I hopefully she doesn't go by the last name Mangione. But you bring up a great example that you've got these people who you see Luigi Mangione, it looks like clear as day, shooting Brian Thompson there on the video, and then there are people out there saying, oh, he's misunderstood. I don't see any level of being misunderstood. What he did was obviously horrifically violent, but you're right. I mean, people like a bad boy? Is that what it is, Liz?
I guess, I mean, so listen, Rita, I will pay, and let this, go out there. I will pay to have his Nazi tattoo removed, and in its place, I will put a Jewish star, since he has no problem with Jews, as he says.
Oh, I love that. That would be great. I love that. I love that you're putting the bid out there. One of the things, too, did you hear what Fetterman said? Fetterman actually talked about, because obviously he's a big supporter of Israel and everything else. And this is cut number 12. But this is interesting because John Fetterman, who seems to now be the voice of reason, it's so funny, Liz, during the debate, boy, what a mess he was. But now he really is very courageous, speaking out. He's like the lone Democrat. And so in this particular case, Fetterman doesn't buy that Plattner was on the app Kick and that he knew that they were, above age, that they were adults, that they were not minors. I mean, how could he know? It's the most ridiculous thing ever. But apparently that's what Chris Hayes from MSNBC asked him. Hey, do you know? Because obviously it's a crime if suddenly it becomes that they were minors. And he's like, oh, no, I'm sure. So I love this. Take a listen to this, Liz. This is what John Fetterman said. He has kind of a challenge to Graham Plattner, not to do with the Nazi tattoo, but to do with his sexting, out of control sexting, even though he's newly married. What a lovely man this guy is.
Yeah, well, no, of course, I never heard from P. Hustle. But what's strange with P. Hustle is back in April, he was doing an interview on that pro-Hamas Zedio network or whatever that thing is. And he said that I am the bane of his existence, and really was angry how I dressed too. And now I said, now, P. Hustle, here's a great chance. You can just prove that all these people that you're dropping those dick pics and saying these things to were over 18. And now I will wear a suit every day in the Senate. And now you can set the record clear and provide all those texts and all those conversations that you were having as a newlywed, but just before you were going to run for the Senate.
Yeah, all those blank pics. I mean, that is the most incredible thing that he wants us all to believe. And, John Fetterman says, I don't believe it. Nobody else should, right, Liz? I mean, there's so many things with this guy's background. I'd like to start with the Star of David. I love it. And then I think he needs to go visit Israel. I think he needs to go visit the concentration camps. And, and spend some time there and wake up to his disgusting Totenkopf. I mean, that's just, it's beyond even a Nazi tattoo, as you know. It's the most vile, despicable form of it.
I totally agree. I mean, I'd like to put him in a room with Holocaust survivors. I actually just met one that was 101 years old and their families, and let them just talk to him and try to, explain what really that means, that tattoo. But if my bubby was alive right now, she would say that this guy Plattner is speaking out of his tuchus.
That's a good way. I love that. Speaking out of his tuchus is very appropriate. I know that phrase, and boy, is that an appropriate one. Liz, you're terrific. Thank you very much. And let's go to Joaquin in Pennsylvania, line 5. Joaquin, your thoughts tonight.
Good evening, Rita. I enjoyed Robert's call because I agree with many of the things that he said. And Liz, actually, she kind of backed up what I was saying. Plattner's gotten as far as he has because women are voting for him.
Yeah, what is it? Why are women voting? Are they so desperate because he looks like a real guy as opposed to Talafrico?
I guess so, and unfortunately one of our problems is on our side is that we just don't have people who speak firmly like Schumer or any of these guys. We're so quick to cannibalize victory. We were so fast to go after George Soros, our own people. George Santos, our own people went after him like rabid dogs right off the bat, and then threw away a seat and gave it to the other side. We just don't have people on our side that want to fight, And
but hang on a second. Hold on, because that's an interesting point, Joaquin. And the whole George Santos, I found, many of the things he said and did just really reprehensible. And I thought it was honorable that a lot of the Republicans felt the way they did. On the other hand, you're right that they gave away a seat and they needed that seat at that time. So who's more honorable, getting rid of, somebody like a George Santos, or Democrats willing to take, the bottom of the barrel and scraped even below it with Graham Plattner, Joaquin?
Yeah, but somehow he's rising to the top, and unfortunately, he's not even, he's owning everything that's in his history, and he's not even apologizing for it. And let's face it, that's the markings of a winner. And I hate to say it,
but he's not owning it. You think he's owning it? He's not owning he keeps saying he's partly owning it. It's interesting because on the parts about the minor women, he's not saying that there are any minors in there because he knows that's a crime. So he's like, oh, no, I'm sure there aren't. Right. And then he's denying the domestic abuse. I mean, I don't know. We weren't there. But I tend to believe the woman, this ex-girlfriend of what happened. And then even the Nazi tattoo. I mean, that's so unbelievable that he doesn't know the tattoo that was on his body for 17 years. And apparently the ex-girlfriend said he used to go around saying, oh, this is my Totenkopf. And then he says, well, I guess she knew, but she never told me. I mean, does anybody out there actually buy that, Joaquin?
I really don't know. And unfortunately, many on the left are anti-Semitic, and they hate Israel, So, and they hate this country. They hate America. They hate Israel. And they hate Western civilization. That's the other thing, we have to I'm glad that Tom Homan's making a point and he's going to be firm. Hopefully he blitzes New York with ICE, but we have to really start eliminating third worlders from our country because, Bill O'Reilly today, when he said that we all come from on Captain Cosby said that we all came from someplace else. That may be true, but in the past, the majority of people came from, Judeo-Christian white Western civilization, but now we flooded our country just like Europe with third worlders. And what are we going to have? And somehow this stuff that goes on with this mail-in voting in California in these states right now, we have control on our side. And somehow if these issues aren't addressed, we're about to lose this country, And so cannibalizing our own just to be above them, it's not a winning proposition at all.
No, but then we're also on a dangerous path if we pick people that are clearly not worthy for the position. And I'm thinking of a whole bunch of them, especially on the Democratic side. And this go round, I've never seen such a group of lunatics. I mean, truly, Joaquin. So you're right. It's there has to be a higher standard. You can't just pull anybody off the street and say, okay, I'm willing to overlook anything. What is it, like a bank robber, the next person? It really is some of the things that I've heard about Graham Plattner in terms of the tattoo and the women. It's appalling. And the fact they're standing by him, I don't think there's nobility in that. But I do. I hear what they're saying when it's power in numbers. That's why you want to make sure they don't get the power in numbers because they'll pick more people like that. And that's trouble for America, not just the Democratic Party. 1-800-848-9222. And we will continue with the Rita Cosby Show right after the break.
The biggest stage in world soccer is days away, and every goal changes everything. And now FanDuel's giving you a reason to root for every single one. Introducing Every Goal Pays. Bet on a match and get bonus bets for every goal scored in that match. Oh, that's right. More goals means more bonus bets, and all you have to do is turn on your token. Visit FanDuel.com and get started now. Let there be goals on FanDuel.
21 plus select states for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. 18 plus DCKYWY. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. 888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org/chat. Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Maryland. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org. Call 800-327-5050. Massachusetts. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE-NY in New York. Call 877-770-7867. Louisiana.
Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.
The Rita Cosby Show. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And we will continue your calls when we come back. Tomorrow night, a lot at stake. I guess the Democrats don't care if he's got that Nazi tattoo, but I'd like Liz's idea of replacing it with the Star of David. That was a good one.
The Rita Cosby Show. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Breaking news.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, I am sad to report. I'm happy for San Antonio, but very sad for the New York Knicks. Game 3, San Antonio wins. It's 115 to 111. So now you've got 2 games, 2 wins for the Knicks, 1 for the San Antonio Spurs in the NBA playoffs. And obviously it was a tight game, 115 to 111. And San Antonio wins it. So now, of course, it goes to game 4, at least game 5 if the Knicks win it. But then we'll have to see one more game here, and then you go to Texas, to the Lone Star State. But this may be a nail biter of a series, guys. So buckle up. 2 games still. Knicks ahead to 1 now with the San Antonio Spurs. And then we'll see. Will President Trump come back to the Garden? It won't be the winning game, unfortunately. Will he go maybe to San Antonio to watch it there? Who knows? 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And I want to play, this is Cut 61. This is President Trump, because over the weekend, he was battling it back and forth with NBC News. Everybody's talking about this interview that he did with Kristen Welker, who is host of Meet the Press. She flew out all the way there very far to do the interview, the West Coast, to do this interview with him as he's talking about small businesses and other things. And he said, you know, I came all the way here, and yeah, I have a problem with elections. There are major issues with some of the elections that are taking place in California. How can you trust it? We'll get into some of the specifics there in a moment. But she would have none of it. She wouldn't even listen. And then when he started saying, hey, look, about January 6th, there were some people that came in that were essentially, the door was open and they just walked into the Capitol. They shouldn't have had to be in solitary confinement. And she said, what are you talking about? Like, she would not even listen to anything he said. And he finally said, I've had enough. He stood up and left. So was that the right way to handle it? Here's part of the interview.
It was a dirty election,
Mr.
and it's
President,
happening again right now in California.
Never presented evidence.
It's happening
that the
right now in California. Right now, it's look at what's happening in California.
Where's the evidence to that?
It's
the
4
Republicans
days.
are doing well in
California. No, they're not. They're dropping fast because it's a rigged election. Let me tell you, it's 4 days. And they aren't even close to coming up with it. You know why they're doing that? Because they're cheating on the election.
Do you have evidence to support that?
All I have to do is look. All I have to do is look.
That's not evidence.
And I listen to people, and let's see what happens.
But, sir, that's not evidence.
Do you think it's appropriate?
That's how they count the votes in California.
Do you think it's appropriate that they have an election, and 5 days later they're nowhere close to picking a winner?
State and local officials acknowledge they are slow. They're urging.
No, they're crooked.
They're urging the votes to be counted quickly. That's how they vote in California.
They're crooked, just like you're crooked. Your press is crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked.
To be fair, I'm not crooked, but let's
Really?
Let's
well,
continue.
You play right into their hands.
Let's continue.
You're either crooked or you're stupid. You play right into their hands with this rap. You know that these elections are rigged. Your network knows that they're rigged. You know that I won an election in a landslide, and I got 94% bad press.
But, Mr. President,
you know why I got that? Because you have no
evidence.
credibility.
But you've never presented evidence that it was rigged. Let's keep talking about. I want to talk about Todd.
You have more evidence. There's more evidence than ever presented.
Let's talk
your
about
elections in this country. We're like a third world country.
But, sir,
your elections are crooked, and you're crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked, and so is ABC and CBS and CNN.
But, Mr. President,
you're one-sided crooked networks. Right? Let's call it quits because I've had enough. Thank you, darling. Have a good time.
Mr. President, let's please. I traveled all the way to Wisconsin.
I've sat in the rain with you.
I know.
I sat in the rain with you for an hour, on and off in the rain, and I've given you enough time. You ought to straighten out your press because you know what? A country can never be great with a dishonest press.
We traveled all the way to Wisconsin.
Wow, that was quite an interview. She would have none of it. She would have none of it. And here's a little more detail. It's interesting. We don't know what's going on in California, but there's clearly a lack of voter integrity. How can you have faith in the voter rolls? And if you look at even some of the polls, I think it's like 40% of the population, even in California, doesn't have faith in the election process. That's not a good thing. And there's reason. Listen to what the U.S. Attorney, Bill Asaley, we spoke with Bill earlier. He is the U.S. Attorney there for Central District of California, essentially L.A., and he is now trying to fight California. He's been trying to get access to the voter rolls to be able to say maybe these aren't accurate. Maybe these are out of date. Maybe these are old, because there's a lot of reports that hundreds of thousands upon thousands at minimum may not even be eligible voters. They just kind of send them out to everybody. And so here's what Bill Asaley said. He said that California is blocking him. They don't want to give him access to the rolls. If the rolls are fine, why wouldn't you give access to them? Makes you wonder. So here is what, again, the U.S. Attorney there in L.A., Bill Asaley, told us earlier.
You don't even know that the people on the voter roll are eligible to vote, because they just let anyone register, basically, and that's not an appropriate form of ID. Then you add on top of that, they don't maintain the voter rolls in California. They do not clean up the voter rolls in a regular manner to get dead people off quickly, people who've moved, people who are felons. These are people who are not eligible to vote. They need to be removed quickly.
And here's a little bit more. If you register to vote in California, one form of ID, get this, is a gym membership. What could go wrong there? Listen to this.
Yeah, no, the voter rolls are so important, because if you have dirty, filthy voter rolls, you're going to have dirty elections. And so this is something I'm really familiar with as a former legislator in California before I was appointed to my current position by the president. So let's start with registering to vote. California pretty much lets anyone register to vote. You can do it online. They sign people up at the DMV. And if you don't have a driver's license or a social, they say, no problem, just show us some form of ID. And there's a list of what they consider acceptable ID. And among that list is gym memberships, prescription drug label. You've got insurance cards. And yes, they give insurance to illegal immigrants in California. You've got all these ridiculous things that do not prove that you are an eligible United States citizen who can vote in an election.
That's amazing. Gym membership, prescription labels, as if any of those things are valid forms of ID, as opposed to showing a social security card, showing insurance, they said. By the way, illegals are getting insurance there in California. So how many people were on this voter roll for the mayor's race and the governor's race that maybe never should have ever gotten it? And take a listen to this. I always read your tweets, you guys. I love when you send me messages at Rita Cosby. Vegas mom says at Rita Cosby, hey, Rita, listening in the car now. I live in Las Vegas and I used to be a registered voter in Los Angeles. I re-registered in Clark County, Nevada. That should have avoided my LA County registration. Guess who still gets mail in ballots for California? Me. So this is interesting. One of you guys listening right now from Las Vegas move there and still gets LA County registration. Mail-in ballots still going to you, even though you've re-registered in Nevada. How many millions of people are like that out there? How can you ever have faith in the process? That's shocking. I learned a lot today. I had no idea that it was so lax in California. I knew it was bad. I didn't know it was this bad. I mean, that should trouble everybody. And of course, this comes as the new news came out tonight that Spencer Pratt, the reality star, has now been pushed off and not make it to the general election. After all the mail-in ballots from California, after they started pouring in, now the Democratic Socialists of America candidate, Nithya Raman, who was a distant third, has now overtaken Spencer Pratt now that the mail-in ballots have been counted days after the primary. And now she will be going up against Karen Bass, who was in Ghana during the fires. Remember? What a group. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Tony in Clifton on line 4. Go ahead, Tony.
Hi, Rita. You know, this is all very to the point each thing is related. The election is related. The illegal detention centers, like what's going on in New Jersey, is ridiculous. And yet, why is this all going on, Rita? And we said it, even during the Joe Biden administration. It's all about the vote. And I would say that every blue city knew, like in my vicinity in North Jersey, every area in Jersey that is not doing voter registration and checking people, at the polls and all this other stuff is very simple. It's because those people the illegals are voting. And we need to right now, and they starting to do it. We need to look at these areas and locations even like California, Spencer Pratt. Oh my God, how can that have happened? Because nobody is eligible to vote, and their Democratic base is illegals. That's why. And
and they don't care. And by the way, they don't care. They just want the votes.
They want the votes.
Yeah, at any cost.
Remember, Rita, when the January 6ers went to the White House to question the vote because we were in a state of emergency, because we had no idea what was going on with all the changes in how you vote during that period. When all those people went, look at how they were persecuted, and look at how everyone who helped the president, across the board, lawyers and people were just ruined. This is because the Democratic Party is being held together by this base of illegal voters. And this is really being seen on how they're fighting in ICE, and how they don't want that, because those are the people they're protecting. And that's why they hated January 6th so much. That's why they have to be audited. We need people to audit, every single blue city, because there's a lot of hanky-panky going on, Rita.
And the window, and you're hitting a very powerful point, because the window's closing too for a lot of these things, because let's see what happens in November. I mean, obviously the redistricting, Tony, has changed the game a bit. It's made it a lot more helpful, I think, for the Republicans. Before, it was definitely more favorable, I think, for the Democrats. And now I think it's a little bit more of an even playing field. I think for sure, I believed as of a few weeks ago that the Democrats would probably win the House for sure. Now, who knows? But you look at some of these candidates they're absolutely frightening. I mean, if the fact that you got the Adam Holloway, and then you've got the Graham Plattner, and you've got the Abdul Al-Sayed, whether it's House or Senate races. I mean, these are extreme. They're even more extreme than Mondani. And so that's frightening, Tony, right? I mean, you got where you are, you got that Adam Holloway guy. That guy was a voluntary witness for the blind sheikh. He translated for him, and he even was in the vehicle. You probably heard the interview that Andy McCarthy did with us last week, where he was saying he was in the car when the guy was talking about jihad, planning jihad, talking jihad. And then what do you know? He was a translator from 91 to 93. The World Trade Center bombing happens in 93, the first one. 6 people died, 1,000 injured. The guy is a convicted mastermind, the blind sheikh is. And this guy just says, oh, yeah, I just kind of knew him. I was hanging around with him, and he was a voluntary character witness from a horrible terrorist. And now the guy's probably going to Congress. I hope, Tony, that there are some Democrats and obviously all Republicans, but I wish all Democrats too, but at least I hope some have a spine and don't seat this guy. This guy is despicable. The fact that he was a character witness for the blind sheikh hanging around with him while he's talking jihad, that should disqualify him from being, having anything to do with politics. He shouldn't even be dog catcher, Tony.
Rita, when you look at the ethics committee in our Congress, we have an ethics committee in the House and in the Senate, there are things that are not being looked at. And Eisenhower took his Eisenhower doctrine, because we're in a state of emergency right now, and yet our government is kind of very lax in who they're letting in. That needs to change.
Yeah, big time.
Department clearance.
Big time. You're right. They got to go through, and if they hate this country, get out. Don't even come in. There should be a better system already on the way in. Let's go real quick to Walter in Baltimore, line 3. Walter, your thoughts?
Yeah. Hey, Rita. I think I agree that Graham Plattner and Adam Hamoy, I believe his name is.
Hamoy.
Yeah. You're right to call them out on their bad beliefs. But we also have to point out that the Republicans have their own issue of extremism and of deviance from what voters should want. And I know that people aren't aware of this because a lot of people don't want to talk about it. But there are many people, Mark Robinson, Christian Ziegler, Lauren Boebert, Matt Gaetz. These people have their own issues, YK, Rita, because people make it all about the hypocrisy, but the hypocrisy is on the Republicans because the Republicans are the ones that claim family values. The Democrats do not. So when they have a candidate who doesn't espouse family values, that isn't hypocritical as much as it's maybe wrong. But Republicans, they're hypocrites because they support anybody, whether they're being accused of whatnot or whether they're...
Well, hold on a second, Walter. By the way, I'm not for someone breaking their vows and doing all this stuff. I agree with you on that. But, I mean... You got to admit, you got this Hamoy guy who was a character witness for a convicted terrorist against America. I mean, that is well beyond anything I think we've ever seen. And then you've got this guy with the Nazi tattoo. I mean, all of those things I think are beyond despicable and a lot more than, someone getting a little touchy-feely. I'm not crazy about that either. But I think that's a lot worse. Walter, do me a favor, stick with us. We got to go to a quick break, but I want to come back with you. You can think about that because what you're saying doesn't make any sense, Walter, but we'll get to it in a moment. But first, support our heroes.
The Rita Cosby Show presents Support Our Heroes.
And everybody, this is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Support Our Heroes segment with a powerful story from Stratford, Missouri, where the Missouri governor, Mike Kehoe, honored one of the last survivors of the USS Liberty as the ship was attacked in 1967 during the 6-day Arab-Israeli War. The attack killed 34 crew members and injured 170 others. Now, Staff Sergeant Bryce Lockwood received the Silver Star for his gallantry in action in connection with the unprovoked and unexpected armed attack on the Liberty ship. It took place on June 8th, 1967. Well, this weekend, a recruiter from the Marines presented the veteran with a surprise proclamation. But on this day, he turned it around and said, on this day, he is thinking of his shipmates, those who survived and those who died. He said, so many men that I had worked with for years, they were lost. They were good men, all of them heroes. And of course, they certainly were. And everybody help America to never, ever forget. The best way to do it is just donate $11 a month to the incredible Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Be sure to check them out. They are the best at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org.
The Rita Cosby Show, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And let's go back to Walter in Baltimore. Walter, you had a little time to think about it. Go ahead.
Yes, and I appreciate the respect that you're giving me because I know you disagree with me. But I want to make my point is this: Republicans clutch their pearls, and I don't think it's genuine outrage. I understand the clear and obvious issues with Hamoy or with Plattner. I will never ever disagree with the obvious problems that's over there. But when you have Republicans that are engaged in obvious problems as well, Republicans turn a blind eye and you won't hear a word. So my point is, save the outrage and focus on the issues unless you're willing to be consistent.
By the way, I agree with you on that, Walter, because you know I'm consistent. And you're right. I think everybody on all sides should be consistent. The values should be consistent. But I will say, I don't think there's anybody on the Republican side that has a big old Totenkopf tattoo.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
One summer moment can change a child's life. Through Toys for Tots Give and Go initiative, your support provides books, games, toys, and outdoor adventures that spark curiosity, creativity, and a love of nature. Whether it's fishing, learning a new sport, reading under a tree, or playing with friends, these moments build confidence and lifelong memories. For too many children, those moments never come. You can help change that this summer. Visit toysfortots.org. Toys for Tots, delivering hope beyond the holidays.